On the 17th of July, 1944, at the Port Chicago Naval Magazine in California, a ship being loaded with munitions detonated. Port Chicago stood on Suisun Bay, up the estuary from San Francisco, where ammunition was put aboard ships bound for the Pacific. It was 40 miles by water from San Francisco, and it had one pier, 1,500 feet long. This is the magazine from the air, taken sometime between the first ship loaded and the day the pier stopped existing. The men doing the loading were enlisted sailors, and almost all of them were black. Every one of them had been trained for something else. None had been trained to handle explosives. Neither had the officers giving the orders. The commander had no training in munitions loading at all. The yard had blast revetments, so a railcar going off would not take the rest of the train with it. The Navy turned down civilian longshoremen, fearing cost and a slower pace. Divisions were timed against each other on tonnage. On the evening of the 17th, 98 men of Division 3 were loading, for days into the job. About 4,600 tons of explosives were in her holds, with a full load of fuel oil beneath them. At 22 minutes past 10 it went up. A pilot in the air nearby reported a fireball 3 miles across. Glowing metal and burning ordnance were thrown 12,000 feet into the air. Across the East Bay, people were woken by it, and windows cracked in towns miles away. Railroad cars sitting inside their blast revetments were crushed by the shock wave. 320 sailors and civilians were killed, and at least 390 more were injured. This is what the view from the pier looked like afterwards. The survivors were ordered back to loading ammunition. Nothing about the training or the conditions had changed. 258 men refused. They were taken under guard to a barge. 50 of them were charged with mutiny. The court took 80 minutes to convict all 50. The prosecution's case rested on what the word mutiny meant.
Collective insubordination, collective disobedience of lawful orders of a superior officer, is mutiny.
The defense had a different question about it.
I can't understand why whenever more than one Negro disobeys an order it is mutiny.
The publicity around the case became one of the pressures that pushed the Navy to desegregate, from 1946. The conviction stood for 80 years. In 2024 the Navy exonerated all 256 men convicted. One of the men who campaigned for that said what the silence had cost.
I hope that all of America knows about it. It's something that's been in the closet for so long.
The site is a national memorial now, dedicated on the anniversary of the explosion. 320 men died loading ammunition that nobody, at any rank, had been taught to handle. When the men doing a job know it is unsafe, what makes refusing it a crime?